To my surprise, the alert level of Portugal's Mount Pico volcano was recently raised. This specifically occurred on July 23, 2026, with the alert level of the tallest and most well-known volcano in the Azores island chain rising from V0 to V1. This change was caused by the occurrence of an unusual swarm of earthquakes that struck directly south of Pico's summit. Involving more than 36 quakes in a 24-hour time span, it was the most seismic activity ever recorded since a modern monitoring network was put in place at this volcano, which has not erupted above sea level since 1720 despite how pristine its edifice appears to be. In other words, this is the first time Pico's alert level has ever been raised, and it occurred during the same several-month time span where the aforementioned Northwest Submarine Flank volcanic system twice had its alert level raised to the same level, V1, due to a swarm of earthquakes. While the connection between these two systems is inconclusive, in my opinion, Cachorro should be considered part of the broader Pico volcano. So, something may have changed at the broader volcano, leading to increased bursts of seismicity in at least two locations since May 2026 began. Given the explosive history of Pico's historical eruptions, should people be highly concerned about this change in activity? In my opinion, absolutely not. The earthquake swarm was unusual, yes, but not concerning. No ground deformation, changes in gas emissions, volcanic tremor, or any other signs of volcanic unrest were detected. There truly was just a single swarm of earthquakes, and the strongest of these, depending on the source in question, was only between a magnitude 2.4 and 2.6. More than 90% of the earthquakes that struck were under magnitude 2.0, in other words, micro-earthquakes that were not able to be felt by anyone. While we don't know exactly what caused these three earthquake swarms, I personally do not think a new intrusion of magma to be involved. No other signs of unrest have been detected, and a week later seismicity has essentially returned to baseline levels. Thus, in my opinion, the rise and circulation of heat and hydrothermal fluids is likely to blame for the seemingly isolated and brief earthquake swarm. To me, that still might signal a slight change at the overall volcano rather than a broad change, at least so far, and that lack of severity is reflected in Mount Pico's alert level only being raised by the slightest amount to its lowest non-baseline level on its V0 to V7 scale. Regardless, in my opinion, there's a good chance that Pico's alert level will be soon lowered back to V0 since its seismic activity has seemingly returned to baseline levels. The only reason I am even talking about Pico due to such a potentially tiny unrest episode is because of the two also weak earthquake swarms it produced at Cachorro earlier in the year. Now, in terms of Mount Pico, how old is the volcano and how often does it erupt? While Pico Island could debatably be classified as having formed from a single volcano, I think it's best to classify it as having formed from three separate volcanoes across a time span of 300,000 years. The only still active one is Pico, and while the base rocks underneath the stratocone that is Mount Pico are quite a bit older, it appears that the entire stratocone formed entirely in the last 6,500 years. In historical times, the above sea level portion of Pico has erupted an average of once every 189 years, with eruptions occurring from 1562 to 1564, 1718, and 1720. None of these historical eruptions truly originated on and thus expanded the volume of Pico's summit stratocone, but rather originated from flank vents which produced largely Strombolian to Hawaiian-type eruptions from cinder and spatter cones. Pico is the most magnificent and pretty volcano in the Azores. Stay tuned for more updates. As a final note, I would like to thank my new patron J.A. for supporting my work.